They always knew about you, before you knew yourself, before you had words for what you felt, before you understood why you were different. They saw it. Your mother saw it when you stared at the sky too long. Your teachers saw it when you asked questions that made them uncomfortable. Your friends saw it when you felt things they couldn't explain away. They all saw it, and they said nothing. Not because they wanted to hurt you, not because they were cruel or careless, but because what they saw in you terrified them. You were never too sensitive. You were never too much. You were never broken, lost, or damaged. You were different in a way that changes rooms, different in a way that shifts atmospheres, different in a way that makes people either drawn to you or deeply, silently afraid. You felt it your entire life, that quiet knowing, that unexplainable feeling that you were here for something, not just existing, not just surviving, but chosen for something your mind couldn't fully name yet. And today, everything changes, because this video isn't for everyone. Most people will scroll past it. Most people would never feel what you're feeling right now. But you stopped. You didn't just find this video. This video found you. And by the time these words are done, you would never see yourself the same way again. Your tomb is empty now. Walk out. If this is already touching something deep inside you, type 666 in the comments right now and subscribe, because what comes next will shake your entire understanding of who you are. Part 1. The silence that surrounded you was not random. There was always a silence around you, not the peaceful kind, the heavy kind, the kind where people look at each other before they speak to you, the kind where conversations stop when you walk into a room, the kind where someone smiles at you, but their eyes hold something back. You noticed it as a child. You couldn't name it, but you felt it pressing against your chest like a secret too big to carry. You were not paranoid. You were perceptive. There is a difference. Paranoia invents threats. Perception detects truths. And the truth was this. The people closest to you sensed something about your energy, something raw, something ancient, something that didn't belong to ordinary timelines. Your grandmother would look at you too long. Your father would get quiet when you spoke certain things out loud. Even strangers on the street would stop and stare. Not because something was wrong with you, because something was unmistakably right. Chosen ones are not chosen because their lives are easy. They are chosen because their souls are strong enough to carry what others cannot. And the people around you, they felt the weight of what you carry. They saw the fire inside you even when you couldn't. But here's what no one tells you. Most people don't know how to speak to greatness. Most people don't have the language for what they see in someone like you. So they stay quiet. They watch. They talk among themselves. They wonder what will become of you. Some of them pray for you without telling you. Some of them worry about you without explaining why. Some of them secretly believe you are going to do something no one else in your family has ever done. And they are right. The silence was never rejection. The silence was reference. They didn't have the words, but they always had the knowing. And deep down, beneath every layer of doubt you've built over the years, you always had it too. The question was never whether you were chosen. The question was whether you were ready to stop running from it.
Part 2. Why you were made to feel like the problem. At some point, someone made you feel like the problem. Too emotional, too intense, too much. They told you to calm down, to fit in, to stop feeling so deeply. And you tried. God, you tried. You shrunk yourself. You dimmed your light. You learned to perform normalcy, like an actor performing a role that never quite fit. But no matter how small you made yourself, something always broke through. A word you said that changed someone's life. A moment of clarity that came from nowhere. A feeling of knowing something before it happened. You couldn't kill it because you can't kill what is divinely placed inside you. Here is the truth they never taught you in school. The most powerful people in history were first called problems. Too visionary, too different, too ahead of their time. The world didn't know what to do with them, so the world tried to reduce them. And some of them believed the lie. They stayed small. They died unactivated. But the ones who survived the pressure, the ones who refused to let the noise become their identity, they changed everything. You were never the problem. You were the solution that the problem was afraid of. Let that settle in your chest for a moment, because I need you to understand something deeply. When people tried to break your sensitivity, they were afraid of your ability to feel truth. When people mocked your dreams, they were intimidated by the scale of your vision. When people called you strange, they were threatened by how clearly you saw through illusions. Every attack was a confession that they saw your power before you did. Chosen ones are almost always misunderstood first. That is not a punishment, that is a preparation. The fire that tried to consume you was actually forging you. Every rejection was a redirection. Every wound was a doorway. You were not abandoned. You were being shaped. And the version of you that is emerging now, the one watching this right now, is the one they always feared you would become. Stay with me because it gets deeper. Part 3. The signs you dismissed as coincidence. You've had moments that can't be explained. You knew a phone would ring before it rang. You felt a death before you received the call. You dreamed things that came true in ways that made your skin go cold. You told yourself it was coincidence because that was easier than accepting the alternative. The alternative being that you are connected to something most people cannot access. Chosen ones have a relationship with time that is different. They feel the past more deeply. They see the future more clearly. They live in the present with an intensity that frightens ordinary experience. You've always processed reality on multiple levels at once. That is not a disorder. That is a gift wearing a disguise. Think back. How many times did you feel something was wrong before anyone else did? How many times did you choose to trust someone only to discover they were exactly who you felt them to be? How many times did life push you in a direction that made no sense until it did? These were not random moments. They were signals, a language the universe has been speaking to you your entire life. And here's what's sacred about this. You never fully stopped listening. Even when you drowned it in noise, even when you buried it under busyness, even when you convinced yourself you were just like everyone else. Part of you always came back to the quiet. Part of you always returned to the knowing. Part of you never fully believed the lie that you were ordinary. Because somewhere beneath the performance of normalcy, you remembered. Not in words, in feeling. That feeling of being ancient in a young body. That feeling of carrying a purpose you haven't fully stepped into yet. That feeling of standing at the edge of something enormous and not yet knowing whether to leap. This video is telling you to leap. Not because the fall won't be real, but because you were built with wings you haven't opened yet. And the next truth is the one that will finally make everything make sense.
Part 4. What happens when a chosen one finally wakes up? There is a moment, a specific, irreversible moment, when a chosen one stops waiting for permission to be who they are, and everything shifts. You felt it beginning already. You wouldn't be here if you hadn't. Something has been cracking open in you. Old identities falling away, old relationships no longer fitting, old versions of yourself dissolving like morning fog. And instead of grieving the loss, a part of you feels relief, because the weight of pretending was heavier than the weight of becoming. When a chosen one wakes up, the entire environment responds. People who couldn't understand you start to feel uncomfortable. They pull away. They create distance. They sense that you are no longer available to shrink. Let them go. This is not cruelty. This is the natural consequence of expansion. You cannot ascend and take everyone with you. Some people were only meant for a chapter. Let the chapters close with grace. And watch who remains, because when you begin to walk in your truth, the right people arrive. People who see you without explanation, people who match your energy without draining it, people who have been waiting for someone exactly like you.
The life you are being called toward is not a fantasy. It is your actual design. But here's the hardest truth of the awakening. You have to be willing to be lonely before you are understood. You have to be willing to walk the unfamiliar road. You have to be willing to look strange to people who are still sleeping. Most chosen ones fail, not because they lack power. They fail because they cannot tolerate the discomfort of becoming. But you have already survived things that were meant to destroy you. You have already walked through fire that was supposed to be the end. You are still here. That is not luck. That is design. The universe does not invest this much resistance into ordinary souls. The more violently life has tested you, the more undeniable your assignment. You were never an accident. You were always the answer. So here is what I need you to hear before this ends. Your tomb is empty. Whatever buried you, the grief, the rejection, the years of not being seen, it could not hold you. You are still here, still breathing, still watching, still becoming. And the people who knew about you, they were right. The ones who watched you differently, the ones who prayed for you quietly, the ones who didn't have the words but had the knowing. They were right about you. Now the only question is, will you be right about yourself? Will you stop apologizing for your intensity? Will you stop shrinking your vision to fit someone else's comfort? Will you stop waiting for the world to validate what heaven already confirmed? You were chosen before you had a name, before you had a body, before you drew your first breath in this dimension. This is not motivation. This is a reminder. You already know this. You've always known this. This video just gave you permission to stop pretending you didn't. Walk out of the tomb. Walk into the fullness of who you were made to be. Walk like someone who knows the story ends in purpose. Because it does. And the world has been waiting a long time for you to show up fully. Now is the moment. Subscribe if you felt this in your soul, because every week I speak directly to the ones who are built differently, the ones like you.